If irony had a crueler face, it would have been the look on Ethan's lips when he whispered the word lover to me. The same man who once spat hatred like venom, who swore he would never breathe the same air as me, was now lying in a hospital bed with half a smile, as if I had been his anchor all along. I froze. Every syllable from his mouth felt like a dagger twisted into the truth I had lived with for years. He hated me. He always had. Yet now, after a car accident that nearly took his life, he woke up and clung to me as if I were the only safe place in his storm. Why are you calling me that? My voice cracked, though I tried to sound detached, careful, like I always did around him. Ethan blinked at me. His hazel eyes softened with something dangerously close to love. Because you are, he said simply, like the world hadn't been built on the foundation of his contempt for me. And I, God help me, didn't know how to breathe. The hospital smelled of antiseptic, sharp and suffocating. Outside, the rain lashed against the windows as if the storm itself wanted to echo the confusion in my chest. Nurses moved back and forth, but in that cramped room, it felt like only Ethan and I existed. His hand, wrapped in tape and bruises, rested dangerously close to mine on the blanket. I remembered every cruel word he had thrown at me back in college. How he used to shove me against lockers when nobody was watching. How he made sure I knew my existence bothered him, that being openly gay in a conservative town was enough reason for him to sharpen his hatred against me. And yet here he was, his voice tender, his gaze soft, calling me by a name he had never dared before. My chest tightened. This wasn't just irony. It was punishment. Ethan Knight, the golden boy of our hometown, star quarterback, son of a respected lawyer, the kind of man people expected greatness from. He had a smile that could win over a crowd and fists that could silence anyone who got in his way. I, on the other hand, was Liam Hayes, the bookworm, the quiet one, the gay kid who wore his heart too close to his sleeve in a place where vulnerability was a target. We were never meant to cross paths, but we did, too often, too painfully. And yet, despite everything, I never forgot the night I saw him crying alone on the football field after a game. The night his mask cracked. The night I almost believed there was more to Ethan than his cruelty. But he saw me watching, and by the next day his hatred had doubled. That was years ago. We hadn't spoken since graduation until fate threw us into this hospital room, where he looked at me as if I were the love he had been waiting for. Liam, he whispered again, his voice hoarse, broken, but carrying a sweetness I had never heard from him before. I thought I lost you. Lost me? He never had me. He never wanted me. I should have laughed. I should have told him he was delirious, that the accident scrambled his brain. But instead, I just sat there, paralyzed, watching the rise and fall of his chest. Some part of me, part one, wanted to believe him. The door opened, and a nurse stepped in. She glanced at me, then at Ethan. He's lucky, she said softly. Most people don't walk away from a crash like that. I swallowed hard. Yeah, lucky. But luck didn't feel like the right word. Destiny, maybe. Cruel destiny. Later that night, when the hospital had quieted down, Ethan reached for me again. His hand brushed mine, tentative, like he was afraid I'd pull away. Why are you so far? He murmured, his eyes half-lidded. Come closer. God, my heart hurt, because I had dreamed of those words once. I had wanted him to see me, to stop pretending I was invisible or worse, an enemy. And now that he did, it wasn't real. Couldn't be. Ethan, I said carefully, you're confused. You don't remember things right. We're not what you think. His brow furrowed, confusion clouding his gaze. What do you mean? We've always been. He trailed off, frustration knitting his features. You're mine, Liam. You've always been mine. The words struck me like lightning. For years I had been invisible to him. A punching bag, a target. And now, suddenly, I was his? It was a lie. But God, it was a beautiful one. I should have walked away that night. I should have left him to his fractured memories. But something tethered me to his bedside. Maybe it was guilt, maybe it was curiosity, maybe it was the stupid part of my heart that had never stopped wondering what it would feel like to be wanted by him. So I stayed. I listened to him talk in fragments about a life we had never lived together. About nights by the lake, about whispered confessions, about a love story that existed only in his damaged mind. And the worst part? I let him. I let him believe. Because for the first time in years, Ethan Knight wasn't looking at me with hatred. He was looking at me like I was his everything. The days blurred into one another. Ethan's recovery was slow but steady, and with every passing hour, his grip on that imaginary version of us grew tighter. The doctors said he might regain his memories fully, that his confusion was temporary. But no one could say Wiener if truth would come back. And I didn't know what I feared more. The day he remembered the truth or the day I forgot it. Because somewhere along the way, between his soft smiles and the way his fingers curled around mine in sleep, I started to wonder if maybe this lie was better than the truth. Maybe, just maybe, the man who once hated me could love me after all. The third morning I found myself still sitting in that same uncomfortable chair beside his bed, my neck aching from the odd angle I had slept in. A part of me hated how natural it was becoming, how quickly my body had adjusted to this rhythm of living half awake beside him. Ethan stirred as the sunlight bled through the blinds. His hair was messy, falling across his forehead. His lips dry but curved slightly upward the moment he saw me. "You stayed," he whispered, almost like it was the most miraculous thing in the world. I should have corrected him. I should have said, "No, I'm only here because your sister begged me to watch over you when she couldn't." But instead I just nodded. "Yeah." His hand shifted on the blanket, reaching for mine. I didn't move. I let his fingers brush against me, let him think I was the anchor he needed. "Don't ever leave me again," Ethan murmured, drifting back to sleep with that half-smile that looked so heartbreakingly real. Again, the word lingered. Again meant he truly believed we had been something. Lovers, partners. His heart was rewriting history with every fragile beat. And two was letting him. When Ethan's sister, Rachel, stopped by later, I tried to pull myself together. She was a couple of years younger than him, sharp and kind, someone who had always treated me with respect even when her brother didn't. She carried a coffee into the room and gave me a knowing smile. "You've been here all night again," she said. "Couldn't sleep?" I muttered, rubbing at my eyes. She sat across from me, watching her brother with softened features. "It's strange, isn't it? He's different, calmer, like the accident shook something out of him. Or broke something," I said quietly. Rachel tilted her head. "He keeps talking about you." My stomach clenched. What does he say? That you're his, that you've been together for years, that you're the reason he's fighting so hard to recover. Her gaze softened further. "I don't know what happened between you two before, Liam, but if this makes him happy, maybe you should let it." Her words were meant to be comforting, but they pierced me instead. If this makes him happy. But what about me? What about the scars he left behind when he hated me? I forced a smile. "Yeah, maybe." That evening, I slipped out of the hospital for the first time in days. The cool night air hit my lungs like freedom I didn't deserve. I wandered the streets aimlessly, past diners and bars, past couples walking hand in hand. Everywhere I looked, I saw reminders of the life Ethan thought we had, memories he had invented and I had started to crave. I ended up at the edge of the football field where it all began. The grass was damp, the bleachers empty, but I could still hear echoes of the cheers, the chants, the cruel laughter when I was shoved against the lockers after practice. Ethan's voice carried through those years, sharp and cold, reminding me that I would never belong. And yet this was also where I had seen him cry that one night, where the mask had cracked, where, for a split second, I thought maybe he and I weren't enemies after all. I hated myself for remembering. I hated myself for wanting him now. By the time I returned to the hospital, Ethan was awake, waiting for me. His eyes lit up the moment I walked in, like he had been afraid I wouldn't come back. "You're here," he breathed. "Of course." My voice was steady, but inside, I was breaking. He reached for me again, his hand trembling. "Come closer, Liam. Please." I hesitated, then sat on the edge of his bed. His fingers brushed my cheek, featherlight, as though he was memorizing me. "I thought I lost you forever," he whispered. "When the car hit, I thought that was it. And all I could think about was you." Tears burned my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. "Ethan, don't say anything." He cut me off, his voice cracking. "Just stay." So I stayed. And when he leaned forward, pressing his forehead to mine, I didn't pull away. The next week blurred into stolen moments I shouldn't have let happen. He'd fall asleep holding my hand. He'd look at me like I was his safe place. He'd speak about a future we never had, about a past that didn't exist. I told myself it was temporary, that the doctors would fix this, that his memory would return, and everything would collapse back into the truth. But the longer it went on, the more I let myself believe in the lie. One night, as the rain hammered outside again, Ethan whispered, "Do you remember our first kiss?" I froze. He smiled faintly at my silence. "It was at the lake. You were shivering, and I pulled you close, and you told me you'd never been kissed like that before." His eyes glistened. "It was the moment I knew I'd never let you go." My chest ached. God, I wanted that memory to be mine. I wanted it so badly it hurt, but it wasn't real. So why did it feel more true than anything else? Rachel noticed the change in me too. One afternoon, she cornered me in the hallway. "You look different," she said, searching my face. "Happier." I shook my head. "I'm not. I can't be. You care about him. It's complicated." Rachel sighed. "It doesn't have to be. Sometimes life gives us strange chances, Liam. Maybe this is one of them." But I knew better. Life didn't give second chances. Not like this. And then came the moment I feared most. It was late, and Ethan was quiet, staring out the window at the city lights. I thought he had drifted to sleep when he suddenly said, "I keep getting flashes, memories, but they don't make sense." My heart dropped. "What kind of memories?" I asked carefully. "High school, the field, fights, anger." His brow furrowed, confusion lacing his tone. "I don't understand. Why would I hate you?" The room spun. I wanted to run. I wanted to lie. I wanted to hold onto the fragile dream he had given me. But the truth was clawing its way back into him, piece by piece, and soon it would devour everything we had built in this fragile, false world. So I did the only thing I could. I whispered, "Because you did." His eyes snapped to me, hurt and bewildered. "What do you mean?" I swallowed hard. "You hated me, Ethan. For years. You made my life hell. And now you don't remember. But I do. I remember every word, every bruise, every time you made me feel like I was nothing." Silence fell between us, sharp and suffocating. Ethan's lips parted, but no words came out. His hand, still resting on the blanket, twitched like he wanted to reach for me but didn't dare. I stood abruptly, my chair scraping the floor. "I shouldn't be here." And before he could stop me, I walked out of the room, my heart breaking with every step. I thought walking out would make it easier. Didn't. The sterile hallways swallowed me whole, every fluorescent light buzzing like a cruel reminder of how trapped I really was. My chest burned, not just from the weight of his confusion but from the cruel irony of it all. The man who had once hated me now wanted me, and I couldn't decide if that was a blessing or a curse. I sat outside on the cold bench near the hospital's entrance, the rain soaking through my jacket. People came and went, but I stayed there for hours, clutching my knees to my chest like I was 17 again, hiding from Ethan Knight's cruel smirk in some dark corner of the school. Only now it wasn't his hatred that haunted me. It was his love, or the illusion of it. The next morning I didn't go back to his room right away. I walked aimlessly through the city, stopping at a diner we used to go to as kids after football games back when my friends still tried to drag me into the normal crowd. I remembered the laughter, the smell of greasy fries, and Ethan at the center of it all, bathed in attention like a god who knew his worshippers would never leave. And me? I was invisible, unless he wanted to remind me how much of an outsider I was. The waitress recognized me, asked if I wanted my usual order, and I lied, saying I was just passing through. Because the truth was, I didn't belong there anymore. Maybe I never had. When I finally returned to the hospital, Ethan's room was quiet. He was awake, sitting up straighter than I'd seen him in days. His eyes flicked to me the moment I entered, and for the first time since the accident, they weren't just soft and tender. They were searching, sharp. "You left," he said flatly. I swallowed. "Yeah. Why?" I shut the door behind me, leaning against it like it was the only thing keeping me upright. "Because you're starting to remember." He looked down at his hands, flexing them like they might hold answers. "I see pieces, moments, things I don't understand. I see myself angry, cruel. And you look at me like I'm a stranger. I bit my lip so hard it hurt. Because that's who you were, Ethan. You weren't this version of yourself. You hated me. His head snapped up, pain flashing across his face. Why? Why would I hate you? I laughed bitterly. Take your pick. Because I was gay. Because I existed. Because I saw you when you didn't want to be seen. I don't know. But you made sure I felt every ounce of it. Ethan's throat bobbed as he tried to speak, but nothing came out. He looked broken, and I didn't know if I had the strength to watch him shatter. The following days were torture. He tried to remember, tried to piece together the past, and I tried to stay away. But Rachel kept calling me, telling me he asked for me, that he wouldn't calm down unless I was there. So I went. Against my better judgment, I went. Every time I walked into that room, his face lit up like I was the answer to all his prayers. And every time I wanted to scream at him, "Don't look at me like that. You don't get to look at me like that." But then he'd say things like, "I keep dreaming of you." Or, "When you smile, everything feels less heavy." And I'd crumble all over again. One night, he caught me off guard. "Tell me the truth," he said suddenly, his voice raw, trembling. "About what? About us? Were we ever? Anything?" His eyes pleaded with me, desperate, terrified. "Please, Liam, I need to know what's real." My chest ached. "No," I whispered. "We weren't." The silence that followed was deafening. Ethan's shoulders slumped, his gaze dropping to the floor. "Then why do I feel like I love you?" The words hung in the air like a blade. I had no answer. Because maybe love wasn't about memories. Maybe it was about the way he looked at me now, the way he touched my hand like it was fragile glass. Maybe love was something born from the wreckage of what he had been. Or maybe it was just a cruel trick of fate. Rachel found me crying in the hallway later. I tried to hide it, but she sat beside me and didn't let me. "You love him," she said quietly, not as a question but as a fact. I shook my head. "I can't. I shouldn't." "But you do." My voice broke. "He destroyed me, Rachel. For years. And now he doesn't remember any of it, and I'm supposed to just, what? Pretend it never happened." She touched my shoulder gently. "Maybe he's not the same person anymore. Maybe the accident gave him a chance to be someone new. Don't you think people can change?" I didn't answer, because I didn't know if I believed it. The night everything came to a head, the hospital was unusually quiet. Ethan asked me to sit beside him, closer than usual. His hand found mine again, and this time he didn't let go. "I remember more now," he said softly. "I remember hurting you. I remember hating you, and I don't know why." His voice cracked. "But I also remember the emptiness. I remember how hollow it felt when you weren't there. And now, God, Liam, now I can't imagine not having you." Tears blurred my vision. "Ethan, I'm sorry," he whispered, clutching my hand tighter. "I don't know how to make it right, but I will. I swear I will. I should have pulled away. I should have told him it was too late. But instead, I let him hold me, let him bury his face against my shoulder as if I was salvation itself. Because the truth was, no matter how much I hated him once, no matter how much he had broken me, part of me still wanted to believe in him, still wanted to believe in us." Over the next week, Ethan's memories sharpened. He remembered the fights, the cruelty, the wall he had built between us. And with every piece that came back, he grew quieter, more haunted. One evening, he finally said the words I had been waiting for. "I don't deserve you." I looked at him, my heart pounding. "You're right. You don't." He flinched. "But maybe," I added softly, "you could try to." His eyes widened, hope flickering like a fragile flame. "Do I even get that chance?" I hesitated, then nodded once. "One. Just one." Ethan exhaled shakily, like I had handed him back his life. "I won't waste it." And for the first time since this whole twisted story began, I almost believed him. That night I stayed longer than usual. We talked until dawn about everything we'd missed, everything we might become. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was running from him. I felt like I was walking towards something terrifying, fragile, but maybe worth the risk. Because maybe love wasn't about the past we had. Maybe it was about the future we still could build. The first day Ethan was cleared to leave the hospital, the autumn air was sharp against our faces. Rachel drove him home, and I sat silently in the passenger seat, unsure if I even belonged there anymore. The streets rolled by, familiar and yet foreign, and all I could think was how much had changed in such a short time. For years, Ethan's shadow had hung over me like a curse, and now he sat behind me, fragile and broken in ways I never thought I'd see. "Thanks for staying," he said softly once we pulled into his driveway. His family's house looked the same. Neat lawn, porch light glowing, the picture of suburban perfection. I remembered standing on that porch once, years ago, when he told me never to show my face around him again. I glanced back at him, meeting his hazel eyes. "I'm not staying for you." He didn't flinch. He didn't argue. He only nodded, like he knew better than to fight me with words. The weeks after his release were a test neither of us had prepared for. He was different, quieter, slower, sometimes lost in thought, as if haunted by the fragments of himself he didn't recognize anymore. I visited less often, partly to protect myself, partly to give him space. But every time I did, he seemed grateful, almost relieved. Like he was afraid I'd vanish the moment he blinked. "Do you ever wonder if we're cursed?" I asked one evening, as we sat on his porch in the fading light. Ethan turned to me, his expression unreadable. "I used to think I was cursed. Angry at the world. Angry at myself. And you were just the easiest target." His voice cracked. "I don't know how you can even look at me." I took a long breath. "Because I don't see the boy who hurt me anymore. I see the man trying to make it right." He closed his eyes, his jaw trembling. "And is that enough?" I didn't answer. Not yet. It wasn't easy. There were nights I woke from nightmares, flashes of lockers slamming shut, of laughter ringing in my ears, of Ethan's voice dripping venom. And there were days I caught him staring at me with a softness that scared me more than the cruelty ever had. Because softness meant possibility. Softness meant risk. One evening, he found me at the old lake, the one from his fabricated memories. The place where he swore we had shared our first kiss. The irony wasn't lost on me. "You came here," he said quietly, stepping closer. "I needed air," I replied, not looking at him. He stood beside me, hands shoved into his jacket pockets, his breath clouding in the cool night. "I know the memories I told you weren't real, but I wish they were. That broke me in ways I didn't expect." I turned to him, anger and sorrow mingling in my chest. "Why now, Ethan? Why after everything? Do you know how long I wished you would see me? Do you know how many nights I begged the universe for exactly this? And now it feels like a trick." His eyes shone with tears he didn't let fall. "Because I was a coward before. Because I hated what I saw in myself, and I took it out on you. And now I don't want to waste another second pretending I don't feel what I feel." The silence stretched, heavy with all the years between us. Finally, I whispered, "Then prove it." He did. Not with grand gestures, not with apologies that couldn't erase the past, but with the little things, with patience, with listening, with the way he didn't push when I pulled away, the way he stayed even when I told him I didn't trust him yet. He came to the library where I worked, not to make a scene but to sit quietly, waiting for me to finish my shift. He helped Rachel with errands when she was overwhelmed. He showed up at community events he would have once mocked, trying clumsily, "Sincerlito, be better." And slowly, impossibly, I started to believe him. The night it finally shifted between us, the town was celebrating the fall festival. Lights strung between trees, music floating through the air, children laughing as they ran past with candied apples. I stood off to the side, watching, when Ethan found me. He looked nervous, hands shoved deep into his coat pockets. "Walk with me?" he asked. I hesitated, then nodded. We wandered away from the crowd, into the quiet park nearby. The air was crisp, the leaves crunching beneath our feet. My chest was tight, every nerve on edge, waiting for the weight of the moment. "I need to say this," Ethan began, stopping under the glow of a street lamp. His face was half shadow, half golden light. "I remember everything now. Every cruel thing I said, every shove, every look meant to tear you down. And I hate myself for it." I looked away, tears stinging my eyes. "You should." "I do," he whispered. "But I also remember how much I wanted you even then. I just didn't know how to face it. And instead of owning it, I destroyed the one person who made me feel alive. His hands trembled as he reached for me, then stopped, hovering just inches from my cheek. Liam, I love you. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'll spend the rest of my life trying to earn it, if you'll let me. The world held its breath. I thought of all the years I had wasted hating him, fearing him, craving something I couldn't name. I thought of the hospital nights, the false memories, the tender way he looked at me now. And for the first time, I let myself lean into him. His hands cupped my face, warm and trembling. And when our lips met, it wasn't the kiss from his broken memories. It was something new, fragile, real. It was ours. After that night, we didn't magically fix everything. Healing isn't a straight line, and forgiveness isn't a one-time gift. But we tried. Some days, the weight of the past was heavy, and I pulled away. But he waited. Some nights, he woke with nightmares of the crash, and I held him. Slowly, the pieces of who we were broken, bitter, lost started to form something new. Something we had never been given before. Something like love. Months later, we returned to the lake together. This time, not as a false memory, not as a cruel reminder, but as two men standing on the edge of a new beginning. Ethan squeezed my hand gently, his gaze fixed on the water. I used to think I'd never escape who I was, that I'd always be the boy who hated you, but you've given me a chance I never thought I'd get. And I'm not wasting it. I smiled faintly, tears in my eyes. Then don't. And when he leaned in, kissing me under the fading light, I knew we weren't rewriting the past. We were writing the future, together. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.